Hi guys, it's Lara. Thank you so much for watching and welcome back to my channel. In my previous video, we unboxed together a sewing machine. It was the Brother XQ3700, so I will link the video down below in case you missed that and if you're interested. And in that video, I have told you that I have decided to return the machine because it didn't have certain features that were important to me. I didn't know what I'm gonna get instead back then, but here I am. I have decided to get the Brother Innovis 100, and today we are going to unbox the machine together. I will show you a few first impressions and tell you first thoughts on that machine. I have to say the machine is also way more expensive. It is super advanced, it is computer operated, but it costs like 3 times as much as the machine that I have shown you in my previous video. And I just want to say that I don't want anyone to feel like you need a machine that expensive. I just treated myself this time. My parents gave me some money exactly for things like that I would normally not buy. But anything that I'm posting on my channel can be done with a way simpler and way less expensive machine. I have used the Singer Brillants before that, which was like 200 bucks. So don't you ever feel like you need a machine like that. Anyway, if you're interested in the unboxing of this super fancy machine and if you want to know what are my initial thoughts, then please keep watching. Here is what the machine looks like when I unpacked it. It has been taped in several places. They also folded the end of the tape so that you can easily remove it, which I find very thoughtful. They also put in a piece of styrofoam that protects the sewing foot area for the transport. There is a needle, from what I can see from here, and a sewing foot attached. And I guess it's a standard sewing foot, but we will see more in a minute. The machine has this handle on the top that you can easily lift or lower. And the machine came also with a hard cover. Now let's put the cover on. The cover is a hard cover. I always had only soft covers on my machine, so this is a bit of a change for me. Fortunately, even with this big piece of plastic on it, it still fits into my shelf. But the cover is not really super stable. You can see it wobbles. And for the transport, they had to fill it on several places with styrofoam. I removed the styrofoam and this is what I got. So I don't really see much of a purpose of this because it wouldn't be stable enough for the transport. I would have to put the styrofoam back in, but fortunately I do not travel with my machine. It is only to cover it from dust, so it will do. One really interesting and useful detail though on the cover is this pocket in the front where I can put my pedal and my cable in. I also put in for now this little baggie with a few sewing supplies. And yeah, you can still lift the handle over the cover. And furthermore, there were 2 baggies also in the box. We have here one with the manual in German and French, and there is a catalog with some overview of accessories. There is the warranty card, and then there was a bag with the manual in Dutch and in Italian. They also put in this leaflet. It's some kind of a short manual with a graphic of the machine, how it's being threaded, and with some basic steps, like for example how to turn it on and off and how to thread the bobbin. Just like any other machine, it has this little table piece that you can take off, so I'm gonna do it now because I also need to take it off in order to remove this last tape. So let's take this off. Now we can see that it's a standard foot. Here we have the bobbin. You just slide this little thing to the side and it opens. So this is not really that different from any other machines I had. So I'm gonna put this piece back on. What is different though when I compare this machine to my previous machines is that I have here this guide on the front. I didn't have that so far. And I can easily access the storage without having to remove this part. You can open it like this. And another benefit is this organizer inside, which I find absolutely wonderful. I can store up to 4 bobbins here, and there's place for several sewing feet, like for example the buttonhole foot. Then there is an open toe foot, 2 edging feet, a zipper foot, and 1 sewing foot. I have absolutely no idea what it's for. I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert. And then there is this cutting tool, and you can also lift this and there's more space beneath it, so I will store some additional things. I also had this little bag in the box, and there were 3 screwdrivers, so I'm gonna store them inside as well. Then there were a few needles, 2 plates for the thread spool, and then there was this little net and a cleaning brush. I put all of these things that I just shown you back to this little bag, and I'm going to store it beneath this organizer because then it's always easily accessible. Plugging the machine is, as you can see, pretty much the same as with any other machine. So you have a place where to plug the cable in and also a place for the pedal, and then there is an on and off switch. Now let's turn the machine on together. Now the LED display is on, the lights here are on, these are also LED lights, and the start/stop button is on. Let's have a look at these buttons first. Now we have here the various stitches. When I push the buttons once, it's always going to be the stitch on the left side. When I push the button twice, it's always going to be the stitch on the right side. This button is setting for the needle. When I stop sewing, either the needle is going to be down or up. This is for sewing up, so you can set it so that the machine is going to do it automatically when you start sewing and stop sewing. You can also set the machine so that it will cut the thread for you automatically. There are buttons for the width of the stitches and the length, and the wonderful thing is you can set it for any stitch, so even the stretchy stitches can be made longer or shorter. The LED display always suggests which sewing foot you're supposed to use, what's the current needle setting, what's the width, and what's the length of the stitch. When I open the top, this is where you put your bobbin and the thread, and there is also clearly marked how to thread the machine. The scheme is pretty much the same as on any other machine. It just looks a little bit different because it's here at an angle and you cover it. When I want to thread my bobbin, I simply put the bobbin here on the pin and push this to the side. Now there's also a very simple graphic of how to wind the bobbin in the short manual, which I find very helpful. And I thought we should do it together, so I'm just going to put the thread spool here onto the pin. I'm going to secure it with the second plate. My bobbin is already on, so now it says I'm supposed to go over here and back, then over this little round thingy, and now the thread goes a couple of times around the bobbin. Then I'm gonna push it in place, and in that moment this button turned orange, and if I would push it, the LED display notifies me and I'm supposed to control the machine with the pedal, which I'm gonna do. Also, there is this button that you can push into 3 positions, and that marks also the speed of either sewing or winding of the bobbin. So I'm just gonna start now with the lowest speed. So you can see it's pretty slow, and then I'm just gonna increase the speed so you can see it's faster, and that would be the fastest. That's not super fast, but definitely faster than when I lower the speed to this. I have to say, I tried the high speed and this is what I ended up with. It's not really neat. I don't know if I did something wrong or if it's the higher speed, but I will have to keep an eye on this and keep you guys posted. So I'm just gonna put the bobbin in place and then I will thread the machine. So far the scheme is really clearly marked. There's nothing special about it. It says here I'm supposed to go towards the needle. There's this little metal part where you have to pull it through, and then I'm supposed to go here through, and then when I push the button the needle should be threaded, and wow, it is. Okay, now that's a really cool feature. So you only push this lever here on the side. When I turned the machine on, these were the automatical settings: regular straight stitch, 2.5 long, there's no width obviously because it's just a straight stitch, needle position down, and the sewing foot that the machine recommends is the sewing foot J, the standard sewing foot. If I would push the button where this regular straight stitch is listed for the second time, it would change. It would show the button hole stitch, and it would also suggest another sewing foot. It would also say that it's gonna do the automatical sew up, the width changed, and the length. Now I'm gonna go back to the regular straight stitch because this is what I want to try out now. And I also want the machine to do the automatical sew up here, and I want the machine to cut my thread for me. Now let's put the fabric in. And I lowered the sewing foot. The start/stop button turned green, which means it can be used. However, I have still the pedal attached. So when I push this button and want to start sewing, it will say again here on the display, disconnect foot control. This is what also happened when I was widening the bobbin. That's why I had to use the pedal. So this time I will disconnect the pedal, and I simply start sewing by pushing this button. You have to hold the fabric still, but other than that, the machine does what it was told to do. So it started slowly with the sew up, and then the speed increased. I set it to medium speed. This would be the high speed, and this would be the low speed. Let's go back to medium. Now I will say stop. And it doesn't do the sew up automatically for whatever reason, even though I set it to that. So I push this button, then it will do the sew up, and then it will also cut the thread. So this sound was cutting of the thread, so I will lift the sewing foot and pull it out. Now here we have the thread, and for whatever reason, all the times that I tried it so far before I filmed this clip, the thread gets cut, but I have to lift the bobbin and pull it through again because it's apparently too short, which is pretty annoying, but it's still a nice to have feature. So I think I'm not gonna use this feature because I don't care for always pulling the bobbin out and putting it in again. But I love the automatical sew up. I love the fact that I don't have to use the pedal. So far, again, very impressed. Now I want to try one of the stretchy stitches. Let's say, which one should we try? How about that one? So I'm gonna set it a little bit wider. The maximum is 7, and I'm also gonna make it 1 point longer because this fabric stretches out a lot from my experience. And again, the pedal is not attached, so I'm gonna use just this button. I'm gonna go a little bit further from the edge because this is how I usually sew stretchy fabric. When I know that it stretches out a lot, it helps for whatever reason. And let's start. Okay, the machine did the sew up for me. That works well with the stretchy stitch. It is pretty wide. And when I stay a little bit further from the edge, it looks as though it doesn't stretch the fabric too much out, or basically at all. Now that's good. Now I'm gonna stop. Let's do the sew up. I am going to try to sew 2 layers with this stretchy stitch, but this time I'm gonna make the stitch shorter. I'm gonna leave the width, and again I'm gonna go a little bit further from the edge, and let's start sewing. Okay, this is so weird. Oh, sorry, kick the camera. This is so weird not using the pedal. I automatically move my foot towards the pedal. It's gonna take me a while. But yeah, so far it looks good. I'm gonna increase the speed. Okay, now that's super fast. Wow. Wow. And stop. Okay, do the sew up. Okay, lift the foot. I'm gonna lift the needle, and this is how the stitch looks like. Okay, I hope you can see something. It looks good. Wow. Now let's wrap this up with a few initial thoughts. So from what I have seen, the machine is really super advanced. It is an amazing machine. It is very easy to operate because you can basically sit down and do intuitively a few things without even touching the manual. However, I feel like it is really important to read the manual because I'm pretty sure that there are so many things I can learn from that, and maybe even mistakes that I can avoid. I had a look at the manual before I have decided to go with this model, before I made my final decision, and from what I have seen, it is well written. Everything is really well explained, so this is definitely a great help for me. I love the fact that I can use either the pedal or the automatic sewing without doing anything with my feet. I personally think that there are moments where you need both hands when you're sewing, like when you're pulling out pins somewhere. And these moments are definitely the time where I would use rather the pedal than the button. But it's great to have both. I mean, you don't need to have both, but if you have, I think it's a really great feature. I also love the fact that there are 3 sewing speeds when I'm using the automatic, and in general, I am really impressed. As I said, you do not necessarily need a machine that's that fancy and that expensive. However, if you feel like you want to treat yourself and you want to buy a machine that is more advanced than the machines you had before, it is probably money well spent. That will show in future, because I have no idea how long is this model going to last. I hope very long, because it's a lot of money that I just spent on this one. Yeah, but these are my thoughts. I can't say more because I've been using the machine only in one afternoon, but so far I am really impressed. And I feel like the stitches are also super clean. I made a few changes on the striped sweater that I've been wearing in my last video. I have decided to make an edge on the bottom also for the sweater, because I felt like it kind of looked like pajamas without the edge. I don't know why. It's just a feeling I had. I don't know. Maybe the way it was cut on the bottom, because it was a little bit wider. So now I made it a little bit straighter and I put on the edging. So, and I have sewn through on the new machine, so I'm gonna show you the stitches. First of all, it didn't stretch the fabric out, which made me super happy, and second, you can see like they are perfectly even, the stitches, and that's all I wanted to see. So we will see in future what I think of this machine. Of course, there's going to be many more sewing tutorials, so if I will find out something great about the machine, or if I will have something to complain, then I'm just gonna tell you during the year. If you would be interested in a little bit more detailed demonstration where I would try out a few more things, let me know in the comments. And that's it for today. I hope that this video has been in any way either helpful or at least interesting for you. If you liked the video, don't forget to give the video a thumb up, because that really helps my channel. You can also subscribe to my channel if you didn't yet. I will link down below a few playlists that I think might be interesting for you. And as usual, any music is listed down below that I use in my videos. Affiliate links, there are a few discount codes that I have currently for you guys. You will find there also a link to my vlogging channel and links to all of my Instagram accounts, and if I think of something, it's gonna be also down below in the description box. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you with my next video. Bye!